Commissioners Court will come to order. It is Monday, June the 20th, 2022, 9 o'clock in the morning, and this is a budget workshop. The agenda has been publicly posted, and this is our opportunity to meet with the elected officials and department heads about their requested budgetary needs. I want to make a couple of opening remarks. First of all, get people familiar with the process. I'm not talking to the employees, they know the process, that's why they're here. But the way this works is, back in April, towards the end of April, I submitted my proposed budget for the county for fiscal year 2022-23. And that budget was for about $39.5 million with about a $1.5 million deficit in it. And that was the budget that was submitted to the departments and the offices. They got that, I think, sometime in May, and they had about a month, and I think it was June 10th of this month, that they actually returned their requested budget. And so what we're doing today is we're dealing with the difference between what I put in my recommended budget and what they're putting in their requested budget, but we don't do it from the satellite. We do it down here at ground level, because we deal with each office one at a time, each department one at a time. And so it's the sum of the pieces that we're going to end up with here at the end that will be the budget. And just so that people understand where we're starting on this, we have our work cut out for us. I submitted a $39.5 million proposed budget. What I have returned to me, once we add up all those cumulative pieces, is a $43.5 million budget with a $4.5 million deficit. And so, big picture, that's what we have to work with. Now, let me just say that there are a number of things that went into my budget that we're starting with as a given at this point. For those of you that are unfamiliar with what our budgets and tax rates have been for the last several years, let me just give you a brief recount. This is my fourth budget. My first budget was back in FY 1920. We did not have an auditor at the time. We had an assistant auditor, and we slaved late into the night to get that budget, and we landed that thing at the exact same tax rate as the year before, which, under the circumstances, I was quite proud of. The following year was COVID and Snowvid. I mean, everybody remembers what we went through. But in the last 3 years, we have kept the tax rate the same or lowered it. And a lot of that is because of the requirements of the legislature. The legislature has some special rules in place, and we now have what is called the no new revenues tax rate. And that it means literally that, no new revenues. And so for the last 2 years, working with our county auditor, we have been able to land, I call it, just landed, a budget that was a no new tax revenues, meaning that we had the same revenues as the year before with the exception of new properties that's been added to the tax rolls, pretty much. And that caused the tax rate to go down because of all the appraisals. And the way we've dealt with these high appraisals is to try to keep that no new tax revenues. Well, you can see the difference between 39.5 and 43.5. There's going to have to be some more revenue somewhere if that's where we landed. And I want to disclose to the public my objective for this budget session and to my colleagues, so you know exactly where I'm coming from. I want us to have another no new revenues tax rate this year. Keep it the same. And so that's what we're going to try to do. And I'm committed to do that, even if it means that we have to go and spend some money out of the fund balance. Even if it means we have to go and tap that savings account we have from ARPA. We got those funds approved for lost revenues. They're available for us if that's what it's going to take for us to land this budget with no new taxes. That's the rate. That's my goal. So with that, I think everybody knows pretty clearly where I'm coming from on this. Good. So let's go ahead and start. Oh, one other thing I want to disclose is there's some things in this budget that the public and you need to know, starting off, that have caused this increase to the 43.5. And that is that we've got we're budgeting a capital outlay for information technology for the IT department of about $600 that we didn't plan on. And that includes a telephone system. So these are needed things. I didn't account for in my budget, but they're things that are worthy of discussion. Then we also have a non-departmental expense on employee insurances. We've had a 3.5% increase in the medical premiums, and I think a 3.3% increase in the dental premiums. And then we've got some prisoner medical and transport and utility expense at the jail that was unforeseen. We've got the sheriff office. Fuel prices have been a little bit more lately, as everybody knows. And we have a road and bridge issue that will be fleshed out in the fullness of time, not right now. But we have an obsolete fleet of equipment, of rolling stock. And I asked for a replacement schedule of what's going to take to get that up to speed over the next 10 years. And I spent, a couple hours out there with you, Kelly? And I left there with my eyeballs wide open. We have an existential problem with being able to maintain non-obsolete equipment. And so you're going to see about $1.5 million that's been added to this budget. And just so you know, Kelly didn't just come in and take her shoe off, pound the table, and tell me I need another $1.5 million. She asked me what she ought to ask for. And so that y'all know, I told her, you ask for what you need. You ask for what you believe will cure the problem. And then we'll figure out how to deal with it. And so, and then one other thing that's in this budget that we hadn't anticipated, y'all may remember that there is a flood control problem over on Highway 27, just past the airport, that has been a proposed capital improvement with TxDOT. We've had it in our budget, and then we take it out of our budget, we put it back in the budget. It should be a matching grant prospect, what we're looking at. But that's back in the budget this year because there's the prospect of a grant. So that's that. These are some of the big ticket items that you're wondering, where does it come from? Well, this is what it is. So I've told you what my goal is. We're going to get this thing done. For those of y'all that remember the old humorist Will Rogers, he talked about laws and government, and seeing how they're made is kind of like sausage. It's better off not to see it. Well, we're going to roll our sleeves up, and we're all going to see it up close and personal on YouTube. And if you have any questions, you can go back and watch the YouTube and see what was said and how we're trying to deal with the problem. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I think we're going to call JP1. Is that correct, Mitzi? First? That was the request, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, request granted.
Okay, so a couple of changes that I did have to make on my number one. I had taken bonds out because obviously the new term starts January 1, so I had to put that back in at 300.
What tab number are you in?
Yes, I'm sorry, 455.
Okay. That helps us to get through the notebook. Gotcha. Now, start again.
Okay.
And Mitzi,
Yes.
I think what actually helps is you just kind of start with the big picture and then gradually get down in the weeds on the specific things that you need to address with us.
So, actually, I kind of normally go through this, and if we're operating within budget, I don't tend to make any changes to my budget. But
Well, let me help you.
yeah.
You look at it there. If you look over in that last column, you see it says administration recommended.
Yes.
I recommended that you have a budget of $188,832, right?
Right.
And how much are you requesting?
So I don't have that.
190.
I don't have that total.
It's that column right by it. See that requested budget column?
It's 455.
But this was from last year, right?
This is the piece.
Okay, 190,132 is the total on it.
And I kind of cut you off, and I apologize, but I want to brag on you. I budgeted about $189,000, and you came back and says, "Well, Judge, I think I can do it for $1,000 more." That's a pretty sharp pencil, and that is appreciated.
You're welcome. And like I said, I didn't really want to make a whole lot of any changes. I knew I had to put my bonds back in. I have looked at the inflation rate, which is really 8.3, I think is where I printed it off last week. And so I wanted to make some incremental changes kind of across the board just to adapt for inflation, but other than that, I really didn't want to ask for a whole lot more. So I did go, I know postage has gone up. I went from $400 to $450. Office supplies from $1,500 to $1,700. Books and publications from $300 to $350. My lease copier is the only thing I still have a question on. I know my contract is coming up in October. I've got my clerk looking into that to see if we're going to have any huge increases, but it was at $1,900. I bumped it to $2,100. And then I think for conferences, I went from $2,500 to $3,000 because that's where you get into fuels and registration fees.
And what I'm trying to do is make you the poster girl of what I'm looking for with my department heads and officers. I gave you a recommended budget. You came in $1,300 more in light of the fuel prices, inflation, and everything. You managed to sharpen that pencil and bring it in for $1,300 more than I recommended to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so one of the things that I want to do in this budget cycle is, because this is our opportunity to talk among ourselves, I personally look at your requested budget favorably. And we need to communicate among ourselves. If we have problems with it, we need to let each other know that we're having problems with it, even if it's a wiggle. You can do a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a wiggle. But for you, thumbs up. Well done, Mitzi.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now we're back on schedule. We'll have Constable of Precinct 1.
Sir,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
JR?
Is JP to actually click on this?
We can do that, okay. J.R. Hoyne. Now tell us your number.
And the department number is 456.
56. Got it. Okay. Okay.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
You see the format I like to use?
Yes, sir. Looks good.
You look pretty good to me.
Well, that's what it's all about. Administration recommended 174,309, requested 174,287. Knocked off a little bit from part-time salaries, and we added a little bit in bonds, as we got to have a bond every 4 years, so
And
coming in
I-
a little bit low.
And I completely trust your discretion on that. In this economy, with this inflation rate, with the cost of gas, and you're bringing it in for a couple of $100, what? Less, not even $100, a few dollars less than I recommended. Again, thumbs up.
He does that each year, I think, if
I
I
know.
remember correctly.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Judge.
you.
You bet.
But I want the public to appreciate how hard our employees work and what they do to try to keep the taxes down as low as we can.
When you keep us on the budgetary straight and narrow, it's appreciated.
Well done.
All right.
Any other comment on him? I give him a thumbs up.
Good job. Yep.
Who do we have next, Callie?
Constable Precinct 1, line item 551.
Okay. Is Constable Precinct 1?
Would you like to move on to the next, who's next in line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be the treasurer?
The treasurer, line item 497.
497.
Good morning. So your administration recommended for my budget was $229,185.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you too.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to interrupt you too.
Okay.
At the beginning. For those of you that don't know, our treasurer, we had a change this year, and she's had to take on added responsibilities, and she is now responsible for payroll. So what we're getting ready to hear is her recommended budget and taking over a whole new set of responsibilities on behalf of the county. So please proceed.
So your recommended budget was $229,185. My requested budget was $232,719. The majority of that is also in my bond, just as other people have said. And I put my conferences line item back up to what it normally is, same as Mitzi said, fuel and that sort of thing. I really didn't make any adjustments for the new duty in my office. I probably should have taken the employee training back up to what it was, but I didn't do that in time.
Any questions for the treasurer?
I did want to ask, and I haven't gotten with Callie yet, the Healthy County expenditure that's generally budgeted in the HR budget, I would like to move to my budget since I'm more the gatekeeper of that. So I would like to move that $4,000 expenditure into my budget and out of HR.
But that doesn't really increase the budget, it just goes into a different.
Right, and that's money that we get reimbursed from TAC for participation.
Again, well done.
Does this have the letter we received, your addition, the
It doesn't,
adjustment?
and I didn't think that we were talking about that. I thought that it was only office expenditures today.
Okay, so there's some additional items on the payroll side,
To come.
personnel.
Or
Okay.
discuss.
And
Well,
that's not
and-
anything that I'm allowed to touch when I'm doing my budget either. That's
Right.
something that gets put in later.
Okay.
Well, and to clarify, so that the public that's here and the public on YouTube understand what we're talking about. What we're dealing with right now is just the core budget. This is not dealing with new hires, and that's what she's referring to. Those are taken up at a later time. And so when you hear from everybody today, it goes back to core budget. And then we'll deal with all those new, the other issues, and they're formidable, but we'll deal with those later. But in your case, you've taken on added responsibilities and need some additional help, and we understand you're going to present that to us.
Yes, sir.
Anything else for Ms. Solden? I vote thumbs up.
Thank you.
Can't
Okay.
vote.
Huh?
Only you can vote, the rest of us can't vote.
No, I'm not, I'm turning to see, what were y'all doing? He put a thumbs up. Put a thumbs up.
But we're not supposed to vote, we're not supposed to vote in workshops.
Well, this is talking. This is communication. This is not voting. This,
Hand signals, huh?
no. I think that the elected officials and department heads need to know what we're thinking. And when I'm thinking that somebody's done something good, I want to tell them. And huh? Well, I'm going to tell them if I like it. And that's what I'm doing. Now, this one's going to be a little different. Right?
This is gonna make up for everything and then
And then there's Kelly.
But in all fairness, I started this.
and she told us, she made us aware of it.
She gives me the same information every year, and I look at it, as we all do. And this year, I sent her a little one-line email saying,
To kind of break it down a little bit more, to really
Right.
show,
to come up with a replacement plan.
yeah, so we did.
So why don't you go up into about a helicopter height and tell us what the overall problem is, and why you've increased your budget by $1.5 million.
I just want to let y'all know that this is Fund 15, Department 600 and above.
612, thank you.
We went through our equipment, and there are some things that weren't part of this that are, it's one piece of equipment, it gets used every once in a while. This was kind of the main bulk of what we use on a day-to-day basis. Wheel loaders, motor graders, dump trucks, things like that. And from that list, it's 96 pieces of equipment. When you take the situation that we're in right now, 67 to 68% of that needs to be replaced right now. 18% in the next probably less than 5 years, it will need to be replaced. And the stuff that's good for a little while is about 13%. The problem is with this big equipment is they've started to put a lot of electronics in it. When we're working, lots of dust, areas with that electronics. They don't last as long as the old stuff did. You know, on your big equipment, you can get maybe 15 years out of some of that. And some of your smaller stuff tends to be about 10 years. So it doesn't last real long, and what we're finding is that some of our equipment, we're spending more than what the equipment probably is worth.
And repairs and.
Yes. And after a while, it's harder and harder to find the parts for them. They're not making the parts. They switched for the Tier 4 motors for emissions, and that was a few years back. That changed a lot of things there too. They had to totally redesign the equipment in order to put a bigger motor in it, not necessarily horsepower, but with all the emission stuff on it. So that sent the cost way up on equipment. A new motor grader today is $375,000. It's crazy what the costs are. So the plan that we had, we would have to be spending to maintain the numbers that we have. We would have to spend over $1 million every single year. There'd be no break. About every single year it would be $1 million. So when we met with the judge, I have 2 of my crew chiefs there, and we had come up with a plan that we would try to reduce the amount of equipment. We wouldn't replace everything that we have. And if we needed something, we might rent it for a short period of time. But we've kind of changed up Rodenbridge a little bit. We've started to bring our work crews together. So we might have 2 or 3 crews out there when we're working on getting the road ready and chip sealing it. And it's working. It used to just be each work area, 3 people on a crew, getting roads ready. It takes a long time on some of these.
And Kelly, it might be good if you kind of tell us the way it was with these road crews.
Yes.
Because I think you had 5 crews?
Yes, we have 5 work areas. Precinct 4, the land area is so large that we have 2 crews out of that 5 that cover precinct 4. So I have 5 work areas. I have 3-man crews.
And what kind of equipment does each crew have?
Each crew has a dump truck, a maintainer, and a loader, and a supervisor truck is what is assigned to them. All the rest of it, we kind of try to share amongst everybody. But being that Kerr County's 1,100 square miles, if you need something that's down towards Comfort and it's got to go all the way back up to Mountain Home or Hunt, that's quite a job to get stuff there. So what we've decided was that maybe we could reduce the numbers of equipment, maybe not so many motor graders. And that way we would be able to replace them when their time's up. And if we run into a situation, we rent a piece of equipment for a month, a week. So we would reduce that list quite a bit. Our main list was at 130 pieces of equipment, and the 2 crew chiefs are pretty confident that they can get that down to 70 pieces, so almost cut in half. But it's still going to require, every year, we're going to need to be replacing equipment. We've got a lot of old stuff. I've got 1 pickup that's from 1996. I've got another pickup from, I think it's 1999, and it has over 300,000 miles on it.
What's that oldest one you got?
That 95?
Is that the oldest?
Yeah. And it's a gas motor truck. Supervisor trucks, I've got supervisor trucks that are 2012s, and they have almost 300,000 miles on them. Our department, it's not just about 5 days a week going out and getting roads ready or doing complaints or requests. It's also after hours we get called out. So there's times that, I have somebody from our department going out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And some of these trucks, the miles that they're getting on them are becoming less and less dependable. So we're pretty much a 7-day-a-week department. So a lot of our stuff gets a lot of miles on it and hours for the big equipment.
And Kelly, one other thing I'd like for you to include in the conversation is we had a long discussion about the mentality of Rodenbridge with regard to keeping this old equipment, and every year we go into budget and you'll ask for maybe 3 things and we give 2 or something like that, and y'all go back and make do.
Yes. Yeah,
And we've made do for too many years.
we have. And, and then there has been some years that the court has asked that we not do any capital outlays for equipment. And, I know each year when that is said, I've always said we have to be careful with that because you get in a situation that you're spending more on your equipment than some of it is worth. And we're there.
Kelly, in your budget numbers, do you have the surplus sale value calculated in anywhere?
I do not.
Because, I mean, for a lot of this equipment, the resale of it, when we surplus it, is pretty substantial.
It is. I think our plan on it was going to be, when we replace, is to trade it in to try to help with some of the cost of the equipment. If you sell it outright, you might be able to get a little bit more, but with that, at least if I'm not mistaken, from the auditor's office, that money, we can't use that money in order to purchase another piece of equipment if we have sold it, like on a gov deals. And I think it goes back into the Rodenbridge fund, is that correct?
If it's new revenue, we would be able to put that money back in, but it would just take a budget amendment that's approved by Commissioner's Court. So it does go back into Fund 15 if they have surplus revenue.
But has the trade-in is fine, but is the trade-in value, I guess, I'm trying to get on the numbers here, do they include the trade-in value or not?
No.
You don't really know that, do you?
No. And it varies.
But the good news is that those have gone up because
Yes.
of availability problems,
Yeah.
so that'll help.
Yeah.
I mean, they have value, some of the things that we have. Somebody for their private piece of, land to be able to use it. But it gets, the electronics are nice, but that's a big problem with the whole thing of these electronics that are going in them. It doesn't like the dust. When you start getting into electrical problems, a small repair bill on a big piece of equipment is like $7,000. That's a little bill. I have a new person in our shop that we've been getting with IT. He wants to track the equipment that we can eventually be able to show this is how much we spent on this piece of equipment this year, and this is an estimated value of this piece of equipment, which I think will be very, very helpful. But we have equipment that we've parked in the lot next to Rodenbridge, and when he gets a chance, he'll start looking at that equipment. He's just working on the stuff that we need to try to get up and running. So,
Kelly, I'd like to follow up with a couple of questions. We've talked about this capital outlay. And in my recommended budget, I put in 300,000 and you put in just slightly over $1 million. Is that right? And that's at my invitation for you to tell us what you really need so that we can sharpen our pencils to do what we can to try to address this problem. Let's move back up to the one above that. I wanted you to explain to them. That is the difference in the cost of street striping. I put in a fairly modest number, a little over $4,000, and you've got almost 50.
yeah, street striping, the vendor that we use, the last quote I got from him was 48 cents a foot. And most of our street striping is double yellow, so you gotta double that, 48 cents. And then you have mobilization costs that go into that. So you do the math on that, you start getting in the $20,000, $30,000 range on average of our stuff. That's the price I got from him about 3 months ago. Have no idea where that price will be. This striper comes out of Donna, Texas. So he's got a ways to drive, and we're gonna pay for that fuel-wise. But if you go with flasher equipment out of San Antonio that we've used a long time ago, they are almost exactly double of that. So you're over $1.
So that's just the cost has gone up,
Yeah,
and you have no control over that.
I have none.
Then I also note that on the maintenance facility, that cost has gone up quite a bit too.
Yeah, we wanted to, let me get to where that number is on here.
Talking about equipment repairs.
That's good. This is going to be item 575, the last few numbers there, maintenance facility.
Yeah, it went up quite a bit. What we're wanting to do is we're wanting to get a more secure gate. If you've ever gone by Rodenbridge in operation hours, the gate's wide open. It's hard to close a gate and then have people as they come, get out. Sometimes we've got 3 dump trucks coming in at the same time. And I don't really like that just in today's world, that anybody can drive through there. We try to catch people, but the GPS for like Google Maps, for whatever reason, the Ag Extension Office, when they have an event, or you have early voting at the Youth Exhibit Center, the mapping program sends them over to Rodenbridge, and I get people who come in and say, where do I vote? And we even had a lady that was supposed to go to an event at the Ag Extension Office, and this was 7:30 in the morning, which if you've ever been by Rodenbridge at 7:30 in the morning, there's a lot of stuff moving around. We're getting people and they're starting to go out to their job site. I saw her car go in, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I called the shop, they went out and they confronted her and she said, I have a gardener class or something here, and they said, not here. So we get that with people coming through, and they go through and don't think of anything just driving through there, and we've got people moving big equipment and stuff, probably not the safest thing. The other part of it is that we have 3 large fuel tanks, above ground fuel tanks, and with having a gate that you have to put a code in, it would keep that back area a lot more secure. At lunchtime, most of us in the office go home for a little bit for lunch. If nobody's in the shop, we kind of have things very wide open. So we've been talking about it, and so a lot of that is to get a more secure gate that we could put like a code in. And so that was mainly where you got that. We put in 35 on that. Then
Kelly, on the gate, I've often thought, what is the possibility of using Spur 100 for equipment and close that front gate permanently? I just know that, many times when I've been, just if I'm going over there around 4:30 or so, or anyone, there's a lot of traffic. It's kind of hectic trying to get in or out of the driveway because of your equipment coming in and out.
right.
And if that gate was closed off, is there a way to put a gate on Spur 100 to have that as the, for equipment? We're gonna spend
We
this
could
much
probably
money.
look into doing something. We would might have to add a little bit more fencing and a gate, but yeah, that would probably work.
I mean, if we're gonna work on that gate and then the long-term ability to move back a little bit onto the new property behind you, rather than, it's something just to look at.
Yeah,
I'm in
I
favor
hope-
of doing something to secure it. I'm just like to look, make sure this is the best option.
Right. I would like to see TxDOT eventually put some sort of traffic signal in that area, because
pretty
certain
dangerous.
times of the day, I mean, it's
Yeah.
trying to get out of there, and the traffic just gets more and more when you're actually coming out on the 27 portion.
And with the 16 acres that we bought behind you,
Yes.
and the improvements that we're planning to put in there at some point, there'll need to be more traffic control in that whole area.
Yeah, and the good thing about that, where Jonathan is saying to put a gate maybe back there, is I think there's more likelihood of that traffic light being right at Spur 100 and 27 than a little bit farther where our entrance is.
Right,
So,
right. It'd be at Spur 100.
Absolutely.
It's just something to look at.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, worth looking at.
So for us, it mainly is on more security. We put a little half gate that a lot of the departments have as far as people coming in off the street. we've had a few times that have been a little uncomfortable on people who have come in, and how much the escalation of their emotions became. I wouldn't say it's a daily thing, but
Well, we just needed
it's
you to
happening.
explain to us that, what it is.
Yeah.
And one last question.
Yes, sir.
And that is, I'm going to call it, and that's not technically a fund, but it's 580, which is that road reconstruct. If
Yes.
you could just explain to us what's going on there.
What that is we have roads that, because we weren't in the maintenance schedule that we're in now of every 10 years, we were in more like a 19, 20 year. We have a lot of roads that, because of that, the whole entire road needs to be reconstructed. That means opening up that existing road surface and taking out the materials underneath it, hauling those away, and bringing in new materials and recompacting it. If our staff is to do that, you could be on a road for a month, month and a half. When we contract these out, you know, a contractor usually has a lot of staff and a lot of equipment. They can come in and do a road in 1 to 2 weeks tops, and they're out of here. So the court had put that in a few years ago, and it has been very, very beneficial. It has helped to get some of these roads reconstructed, and once we get through that list, which it will take a while, if the court keeps giving us the money to stay in that 10-year cycle program, hopefully you don't have to see those total reconstructions. I mean, we've got a ways. This year is our 5th year in that program. So after this year, we should be 50% through our complete list of roads. We have 603 roads, and it's probably between 450 and 460 miles. And Rodenbridge, when it's full, is 28 people. 3 are administrative staff, 2 are in the mechanic shop. So by the time you subtract that out, you've got 23 people to cover 603 roads, probably about 450, 460 miles. It's not much.
But just to clarify so that the public understands, when we adopted the policy to try, and we have all paved county roads, we're very proud of that. I always like to remind the public that we have all county roads are paved. We put it on a 10-year schedule. We're about halfway through that. It's gone very well. Sometimes you have to reconstruct the road completely.
Yes,
We've been using subcontractors to do it. It's been more cost effective for us.
yes.
And what this $40,000, it's almost $40,000 more than what I had in my budget. That's just the cost that it costs to do it today.
Yes, increased fuel costs.
So when we add up all this stuff and we talk about the $1.5 million, there is an explanation for each and every item that you put in this budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Plus, I was amazed that, you know, we had some roads just devastated with the ice storm, and we had to have people come in and do it.
Yes.
If we tried to done it ourselves, it'd take forever, and we'd let other things get worse.
Yes.
And they came in, and I was surprised how quickly we got them done. Very busy streets that you can't afford to have tied up forever.
Yes. It's been a very successful program. I think when Bob Reeves was commissioner along with Jonathan, they had come over to Rodenbridge a few years back and, you know, had said, you know, what would you think if we put a little bit of money in your budget that you could get some of this reconstruction done? And then your guys can focus on the ones
Right.
that, you know, you're doing a couple, little bit of patching, little edge patching, cutting the trees and getting the roads ready. It's a much quicker process than getting stuck for a month, 2 months on a road, and it's been very successful for us.
Well, I'll say this, I've said it many times in the last 3.5 years, I'll say it publicly now, that y'all make us look good. And I appreciate it. And I think having all our county roads paved, I think we're, one of maybe 5 in the state
Correct.
that can say that.
Now, it does affect appraised values. You need to know that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let it go to your head.
But bottom line, Kelly, the input that I want to get back to you, so that my colleagues here, is these are not unreasonable requests that you brought to us. There are some big ticket items. And the performance of your department, thumbs up. Whether or not we can do all of this, I got to give you a little wiggle.
We understand.
We'll need to talk about some of this stuff. But I want you to know where we are.
Yes.
Any other input?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions. Judge mentioned earlier I'm not sure whose budget these items are in. Judge mentioned earlier the flood problem in Center Point. Where is that money in the budget? In Charlie's?
Fund 22.
Okay, that's in fund. There are 2 subdivisions that I'm aware of right now that are pending, that I think there's some initial discussion on having the developer jointly work with the county on road improvements. Where is that money? Not in the budget. Okay. Ayler Crossing, that bridge we replaced under TxDOT, that will be required to acquire that right of way. Is that in the budget? The right of way acquisition, is it in here anywhere?
I think that project is at 2025.
It's coming up. We need to deal with it soon, in the next 3 years, for sure. We didn't even put it on this one, but I'm glad you're bringing it up.
I mean, it's in the line items in here. I'm just wondering if we should, for those 2 items, not that we didn't want to increase it. I don't know if they go in this budget. I'm not sure where those items would go.
But the placeholder for next year.
And I know that Charlie's visited with Chuck Kimbrough a little bit as to how you handle a joint developer county road improvement project.
Haven't we done that before?
We've never done that before. I'll say that. We've never done it while I've been a commissioner. Other
Well, that's
counties,
a quarter of a century.
Kendall County has, I know.
So what, you're talking about doing what? Who?
Well, if we have a small road going into a area where new subdivisions are going in, that road just can't handle that traffic. I don't think the county should have to pay for 100% of upgrading the county road to get there. And there is a provision, I believe, for the joint agreement with the developer and the county to upgrade a public road. But I just want to, one of them's in your precinct that I'm aware of, one of them's in my precinct that I'm aware of. And we have no idea the dollar amount, but I'm just wondering as to, we can't declare an emergency to do it, so if that money's not somewhere in here, whether it's contingency or somewhere, we're stuck. So that's just bringing it up as to how we handle that going forward.
Well, quite frankly, when it comes to new development, I'm really looking to the developers to put the cost of these capital improvements that are necessary. That should not be a county expense.
We don't have anything in place to force that.
I don't know if we can make them do that.
I don't know that we can
Well,
either.
then they don't get the development.
Well, we have had things like out where Martin Marietta is. It puts a lot of extra wear and tear on the road, more patching it and everything. So you just deal with what you have in existence now.
Can we deny a subdivision plat because of it?
I gotta look to the lawyer on that one.
I don't think so.
Well,
I would
my
look
point
at
is,
that.
you get right down to that question, I think.
I know you can do a joint agreement. I'm not sure we can deny it. And maybe that's the question we ask first, but it is something that I think we need to be aware of because I know there's 2 pending. One of them's, pretty significant. One of them's not real significant.
So this is with existing roads.
It's an existing
Yes.
county road that modifications may be needed because of increased traffic or whatever. I mean,
But that would really be in addition to what Kelly's presented us here.
yeah,
So that's another discussion for us to have. I don't want to delay her at this point.
I'm just trying to figure out where we put it as a place, where we put it so we don't forget about it.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, I see it in here, so.
yeah, I just don't know where it goes in the budget. If it goes in, basically, if it's engineering under subdivision type stuff, or if it's under Kelly's or where.
Okay, show me where that is.
I'm just on Kelly's budget, so
Yeah.
it's not anywhere in here right now. I'm just wondering, should it be in here is my question. Let me just make a note that,
Ayler Bridge right away.
yeah, that is in the budget.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
zero item. And it may, hopefully on that one, it's gonna be minimal and try to do an acreage swap and pay nothing, but, and it could probably be, it's not gonna be a huge amount regardless on that one, because it's not that much right away.
Wasn't Crossing Street the 10%, 65,000, and Ayler's, is it 107? So the total cost of the bridge was estimated at 1.7, so I think 107,000 would be the match for the county. And if we had a project, we might be able to present that to them for in-kind services, and we don't pay the amount.
We'll have to look at the agreement regular specifically, but that agreement may state that we're 100% liable for easement activity.
I think we are.
And I think that's what it does say. I can contact TxDOT and copy the report and get them to give us a schedule so that we can fit it into our budget.
Okay.
And put placeholders in today.
Good, good.
Right. That's
Good-
enough
good
for
issue.
today.
Good
Enough
issue.
for today.
Anything else, Kelly?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a lot of hard work, we appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, county engineer,
Department number 601.
601. Got it. And Kelly, it really helps us when you call out those numbers.
Yeah, no doubt.
Charlie?
Administrative recommended is 287,000, and I've got a requested budget of 315,000. The vast majority of that is $24,000 for lease vehicles. We've got those two vehicles that we have in our department, it'd be $1,000 a month times two. That's the big one right there. The court did authorize me to get those vehicles ordered, put in an order now because there's such a long lead time with Ford.
That's right. Yeah, thank you.
That the earliest that it would be ready would be sometime next year, May, probably. And so we've done that, and I believe that the court also had a stipulation that that's not a commitment that we are bound by. We're just getting our name on the list, because if you don't put your name on the list now, then you're not gonna get it at all.
Charlie, I was in that meeting, you know, and I realized we're not bound to those two vehicles.
Yes.
I just got one question. Do we need two the same year? I mean, you're a department of two. Are those trucks both at the point that?
Mine's a 2014. It's got life in it. It's at 130,000 miles. I don't know how much more.
Okay.
I don't know when the repairs starts becoming an issue. I know we spent some good money this past year, probably about $1,500 on
Okay.
just that one vehicle. The other one is, I believe, 230,000 miles on it, and it's I want to say it's an 06. I
Okay.
can't remember. 06 or 07.
Something to think about. I mean, you know, replacing two the same year, two.
I'd replace Bobby's before mine.
Right.
He's driving, he won't drive it to San Antonio,
Exactly, I understand.
that kind of a thing.
The
So,
vehicles
We reached
that
that point.
The vehicles that they have are leftovers from Rodenbridge. I gave Charlie 2 pickups, so.
they're both leftovers.
They're hand-me-down.
Yeah.
Mine's just the newer leftover.
Well, and Charlie, just to give you some kudos here. You took my recommended budget, and the only thing that you really adjusted is these vehicles that we specifically authorized you to order, knowing we're not committed to take them.
Yes.
And we're gonna do what we can. And so thumbs up for what you're doing. And as far as whether or not you get one or two, we'll talk it out, okay?
The other item that is a significant increase, $2,700 increase in fuel. Now, our department normally, because development has been calm for so many years, and
I don't need an explanation on that one.
we're driving all over the county inspecting.
What I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is, you sharpened your pencil, you sat down and took my recommendations and came back with everything that we recommended, and the other things we approved. So, well done.
Thank you, sir.
Charlie, are we have two pickups in here. Are pickups the best vehicles for you?
Yes, four-wheel drive. It's a necessity in the construction sites. You don't want to get stuck.
Yeah, and you haul a lot of stuff, you got a toolbox and stuff.
We do. If we see something when we're out in the field that needs to be adjusted, rather than drive all the way back to the office and let maintenance go through that process, if it's something we can handle, we handle. So we do have some tools that we keep on our trucks to handle little small incidental things.
That'd be great.
So we could get by with one truck.
We could. I think so.
I told you there was a whittle there.
That would be fabulous. It really would.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Road districts. Is that Fund 20?
That is Fund 20, and we're showing $24,000 here. This will go down to zero because there's not any planned maintenance for this road district. This is money left over from when they were a taxing unit and they had some type of debt. And so if somebody didn't pay their taxes during that time, but their house is sold now and we get that money in, it can only be used for these subdivisions or road districts. And so in speaking with Kelly earlier, there's not any of this planned maintenance for the next year in this fund.
Okay.
So if this debt's retired, how old is this road?
I'm sorry?
This road's paid for?
The road is paid for, the
So
debt is
it's
paid
about
for.
20 years old, isn't that how long these last?
15, most of them.
15? Okay.
15 is what I'm hearing.
All right.
15 state law. It can't be more than 15.
But they've been very successful.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how
Where they
long.
worked, where they, put them together.
And just as a footnote, this is what, one of these special taxing districts?
The way they work is that the people generally in an area that, where the road is a private road, or it's a public road, but it's privately maintained, and the residents vote, draw a boundary, do go through some paperwork with the court, and then they will vote a tax to bring that road up to county standards, at which point the county will accept it into our road system. Most of them that we've had have passed. One in my area has not passed, and mainly because there was just, the tax was going to be so high. You got to have quite a few homes to justify it, because the tax amount is based on the values of the properties that are going to use the road. So, but there, in areas, Ingram Hills, a lot of areas that work real well.
And this is a potential tool we might consider when we deal with the Ingram issues. Just so you know, it's another tool in the toolbox. Okay, next one is flood control.
Which one is that?
Toward the back.
22 in the middle.
I believe, and is this 510? Is that where we're at, or is it everything?
22.
I apologize. We work collaboratively on this. The auditor's office manages the numbers, and we give them the numbers, what we think is needed for the project, so. I think we tag team presenting this for you, so you'll forgive us on that. But,
I found it here.
what we've done here, I think we're just looking at 22, Fund 22 overall.
Yeah.
You want to present all of that? Okay, we'll look at that real quick here. Rip-rap repair and maintenance, we've got $10,000 in there. I think administrative recommended that, and I think that that's what is requested. So if we have some work that needs to be done on the bridge, like what we did this year with Old Cypress Creek Road, that fell apart and that needed to be rebuilt. So we had some funds we had to work with on that.
Charlie, I think really the only thing we need to talk about, this is where that flood project went in.
It is.
On Highway 27. This is where the big change is.
So 501 is flood warning system. I believe last year the court said we need $100,000 in there. If we're going to do some kind of a flood warning system, we would have a match. I will say that the regional flood planning group for the Guadalupe River, they meet once a month. I know there's a public meeting coming up that will be held at UGRA later this year. And I think that's going to be posted so it allows the court to show up too. And they're asking for communities to tell them what's wrong in your community, what's wrong with the Guadalupe River, what projects are needed. And the projects that have been identified are some kind of flood warning system, and that would probably be multi-county. That would probably need some coordination with Kendall County as well. And then the other is we've got several areas in the center point and comfort area on Highway 27 that they flood. The water cannot get from one side of the highway to the other quick enough to the river. It backs up. We have seen, as TxDOT has rebuilt Highway 27, they've put additional crossings under the road. They're temporarily blocked off because it's wider than the ditch that is receiving that water. And when the ditches get upgraded and widened, then the water should be able to flow through and the blocking can be removed.
But this, this $1.25 million is what capital project I talked about at the beginning of today.
Yes, sir.
And this is the area in the budget where we find it.
That's right.
And so that is just a capital improvement project that has the availability possibly of getting done this budget year.
Yes, and I'd like to flesh that out just a little bit too. We put numbers in there for you. Last year, we came to the court and said, we don't know how much it's going to cost. Why don't we at least get the engineering funded? You funded the engineering at $150,000. The engineering has been done. The only thing lacking in the engineering is final construction plans that can go to bid. And we have identified, the engineer has identified that we need easement acquisition funds and we need construction funds. So we've combined the remaining engineering funds that need to be spent to produce the final construction plans, the easement acquisition estimates, and construction, lumped it all together into that number you're seeing there, $1,259,036. For 2022, if you were to remove, I would remove the $1 million out of that and put it as we're talking about 2023 budget. I'd put that in 2024. I think everything potentially can dovetail nicely. I think we did our engineering now in 2022. We can do our easement acquisition in 2023 and finish up the engineering in 2023 and 2024, be poised to hopefully dovetail nicely, like I said, with the regional flood planning group and funding that hopefully could go towards this. We've let them know we need $1 million for this storm drainage project. And it's in the regional plan as far as I know to date. It should stay in there, and then as long as it's in there, and then when funds are available for construction, hopefully we can tap into that.
So that the public knows, when we talked about these major changes to the budget and this capital outlay, this is something that's been on the drawing books for years. We've had been trying to hold a place for this, and it looks like we're going to be able to finish the planning and engineering part of this, get the right-of-ways, and be able to complete it within the next couple of years.
Yes, sir.
So we're dealing with it, starting to deal with it now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And on this project, and well, both of these, the flood warning and this one, these should be partially state funded.
Right.
Right.
So there should be additional funding coming in. We don't know how much that's going to be. The flood planning process for Region 11.
Region 11.
Has not gone as smoothly as Kendall and Kerr County would have liked. We have very little representation on that committee. But we have, I've been down to 2 or 3 of the meetings where I've been rather loud. And Charlie's been to several meetings as well. And Ray Buck is trying, but it's just, we're having a hard time with that group. But these projects are listed in their what's going to be turned into the state.
But so that everybody knows, we're trying to get ahead on this. We don't want this to catch us by surprise, so we're still working on it.
Now, this thing is taking a while, so once an engineering study is complete, it's good until there's another one done? There's not any possibility at some point they'll say, well, that's an old study and this is taking a long time to get done?
This one works out really well. I'll tell you this, that we've got development that's next door that's proposed. Steel Creek there, they've got a really large detention pond planned, and our engineer told us, you're probably gonna need a detention pond somewhere. And now this detention pond is proposed to go in by a developer, and we don't pay a dime. That benefits this project. I don't, because of that, I don't think that the only other engineering that needs to be done, because the hydraulics and hydrology really aren't going to change. I think that detention pond going in upstream makes it so we don't have to do one there in the ball fields. And it kind of, it helps everything, is what I'm saying. But the only other engineering that's left is to do the final construction drawings and engineer's estimate and bidding documents. And we've got an engineer on retainer for that, and we've carried that money over to finish it out in this budget. We also have the last item is 580 Rodenbridge Projects, and we've seen that as high as $75,000. We completed 2 of those projects this year, of those 3. The third one that was not completed is Goat Creek Ditch. Goat Creek Road has that's actually Goat Creek Cutoff Road. It's actually Goat Creek Cutoff Road. There's an area over there that's just a real bad bog that needs some work. And we put $25,000 in it, still have $25,000 in it. But also the remainder of, in that is, I think $2,100 is carried over from Hewitt Engineering for the Sutherland drainage, which is one of the 3 Highway 27 areas that we have flooding issues. It would be included in that $1 million overall construction. Sutherland, Caldwell, and is it Caldwell, Lane, and Willow Bend. Those are the 3 locations that you've got water across the road in heavy storms. We've seen it in 2015 for the Memorial Day. I think we saw it 1 year later, 2016, another Memorial Day flood that happened where you had 4 foot of water over the highway in those locations. So we can get those things opened up and let the water flow through to the river, be in a lot better shape.
Okay, good job. Anything else for flood control? Let's move on to parks maintenance.
Line item 513, Fund 10.
Right, Fund 31, where's it?
Fund 10, 513.
I hadn't found it yet.
Up toward, in the middle. Yeah.
That's a big chance.
She said number 10.
Right
513.
after the tax assessment, which is a big one.
That's it, you're on it.
Why didn't you hear the
Mine's a
513?
big one.
Yeah, but it's the middle row of tabs.
513.
It's all old here.
It's helicopter ears.
Just after the jail.
It's 513?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, Shane.
Good morning, gentlemen. There was a few items that I'm asking for more funds for. My supplies, and basically some of this only added 10%. My supplies, most of my supplies, parts, and materials that I've needed, I've had as much as like a 20% increase in the stuff that I need to get. So 513, 310, I've only asked for 10% more, which that makes it $3,300. And then my fuel, oil, and maintenance, I added another 10%. It went from 10,000 to 10,500 for my fuel, oil, and maintenance. And that covers my fuel, oil changes. And then let's see.
Your big one is the Little League fields.
Yes, and that was a request by
Me.
me.
And the reason is mainly for a discussion item. The town is responsible for all of that infrastructure. We spent the $6,600 this year, pretty quick. Some of those buildings are in need of repair. I don't have a definite list, but we'll see how it works out there. The Little League does everything on the fields, takes care of all that. But we own it all and own all that. It's just a matter of, I think our liability is pretty high if we don't make sure that it's safe out there.
Other than that, Shane, it looks like to me you stay pretty much on track.
Yes, sir, on that one, did. I'm afraid some of the other ones, I'm not gonna get too much of a thumbs up.
You get a thumb though.
Yeah, I will get a thumb.
You started on a good note.
Okay, Anything else on parks maintenance?
No,
Courthouse and related buildings?
Line item 510.
I did ask for like $500 more in my uniform budget. I do have one extra employee now, and that covers their uniforms and one pair of boots a year. And then on supplies, I went from 19,000 to 20,500 on massive floor. And again, materials and stuff have gone up, cleaning supplies, and I've had my custodial supervisor, when we sit down and discussed what items and materials we can get locally from like Walmart, HEB, then cheaper than asking our vendors, and would sometimes ask more money. So we're trying to do some thrifty shopping to keep our costs down on for our custodial supplies as needed. Some of our paper products for the paper dispensers and stuff, we're having to still get those from the outside vendors, and we can't get those from like Walmart, HEB kind of things. So,
Well, Shane, the big thing I noticed is that your budget is about $20,000 more than what I recommended, and $15,000 of that is repairs and maintenance.
well, that was coming for Rodenbridge. They have their carport equipment area that currently has any electricity out there at the moment. So during the night, when they do have to come in at night, they get call outs. They don't have any light out there in that, what they call it, their carport. Totally dark out there, no electricity, and one of the other things, and not only do they want lights, they also want some electricity out there for, during the cold weather, they can plug their trucks in and keep the block heat, for the block heaters on their diesel trucks.
Okay.
So that cost, and along with that, I think during the department head meeting, I told y'all about, there's a breaker panel out there that also needs to be replaced.
Right.
And this is where some of that money would be going, is for Rodenbridge to one, replace that breaker panel that does need to be replaced. And then, but the lights and the electricity out there at their carport, well, that's at y'all's discretion. Rodenbridge had asked for it before, and so I'm putting it out there to see if we can get that done.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Shane on this?
Looks good.
Good. Then next is jail maintenance.
Line item 501.
On the jail maintenance, 511, 451, I added another 10% to that, and like I said, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but there again, parts, maintenance. When I'm having to use AC techs or plumbers, their labor charges haven't gone up, but their parts and materials have. So they're extending that cost towards us as well. So, and I think if you look at the last 3 years, I've gone over the $75,000 mark. Well, 2 years in a row.
You said 10%.
10%.
That doesn't sound like enough to me. Based on the increase in a lot of this stuff, it's more like 30% a lot of this.
Well, I could probably.
That's a comment. You don't have to answer me, Shane.
Well, I could make do with 10%, I think. I mean, if I do, I can make budget adjustments and pull, from some other line items that maybe I don't need as much money in, or, and that's what I've done before to make it work, so.
Shane, it looks like to me you're only $8,000 above the recommendation, and $7,500 of that has to do with the jail repairs, and that's just more expensive.
Yes, sir.
It has to be done.
Okay. Very good. Then, have anything else for Shane? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and do the county clerk.
Oh, thank the Lord.
We're going to take County Court of Law out of order. Judge Harris. And Callie, what's the number?
427.
425?
427.
427. Got it, right here.
Thank you so
Judge.
much for letting me.
I understand you have an important call at 11 o'clock.
I do.
So.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Jim.
And thank to the county and district attorney for allowing her to go out of order.
Thank you.
I mean, clerks. Clerks. Clerks.
All right. I think our budget is pretty much exactly what it was last year. We do have under bond $1,500. That's for our new term, the 4-year bond that we have to have. Judge Kelly and I have $100,000 bonds. So that is new. I don't believe there's anything else that's changed from last year.
Well, there's $1,500.
The 15, that's true. And that was,
And I said that teasingly
yes.
because from our view, where we have to look at this budget, you've done a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Judge Harris?
Yeah, are you gonna give her a thumbs up or thumbs
Thumbs
down?
up.
Thank y'all. Thank you so much.
And the thumbs up is to give you input as to at least where I stand, and they can disagree with me, and I encourage them to disagree with me if they disagree. But,
Oh, we will.
that looks good.
Thank you, and Tammy, thank you for all the help. Your office is awesome. All right. Thank y'all. Thank you
Okay, thank
for
you.
your service, and may I be excused.
Yes, you may.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Back
I
to
think
county
you ought to
clerk.
start giving people little desk things, you know, and have your thumbs up on it.
Yeah, I need to get a thumbs up stamp, don't I?
Yeah.
Now, having gone to UT, they're not going to appreciate the thumbs up, let me tell you.
Good morning.
Ms. Dowdy.
I'm
And
in
Callie, the number?
403. Yeah.
Got it.
So, at least the column that I'm looking at, last year's budget came to 757,016. This year I'm asking 755,589. So a difference of, I don't know, almost 2,000, maybe 1,500.
And
less.
I like it.
That was not lost on me. Thumbs up.
All right.
Thumbs up. Now, this doesn't address the new hire issue, but that we're going to talk about paying out of the dedicated fund.
Correct.
We'll do that later.
Okay, so do we want to do any of our dedicated funds today? Fund 28, which would be...
Well, we'll do the dedicated funds, but
Okay.
just in terms of the new hire, that's a whole different workshop.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm bragging on you again because that one's going to be paid out of a dedicated fund and not out of the general fund.
Yes, sir.
So, very good.
Okay.
Next is records management.
And it's zero, so if we may, can just go ahead and zip.
Okay.
To
Okay.
her
Then we go to-
county clerk tech fund, Fund 42.
I think we've got something to talk about on that one.
What number is that again?
Fund
42.
Okay, so I've asked for the one-time implementation fee. Fund 42 projected at the end of this fiscal year should have $7,220. So I'm asking to dedicate a one-time payment of $2,500 for the Fiddler replication implementation.
And that was the contract that we approved at the last board meeting?
That's correct.
I don't have a problem with that. All good. Anybody have any issues, questions for Ms. Dowdy? I like it when you make it easy for us.
Try.
Okay, we'll go to Court Records Preservation Fund.
Fund 43.
Projected to have 50,344. Oh, sorry, correction. Oh, yeah, 50,344. Where's my 43 at? I'm asking for the one-time implementation fee for Fiddler. That same contract we approved last week. And also a recurring 10,000 for also the software for Fiddler. So I'm requesting 40,000 to be paid out of that fund, again, to be projected at the end of this year, 50,000.
That's a one-time fee, right?
The 30,000 is the one time, and the 10,000 is recurring.
Okay.
I think that 10,000 could come out of a separate fund if ever we needed it.
Is that licensing or is it actually a service?
It is a service. The 10,000 is a service. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like copying our records to a server.
Yeah.
And then
Somebody's doing something, it's not just a licensing fee.
It's to my knowledge, somebody's doing something. A program is doing something, so it could be a license
Okay.
in a sense. And then the 30,000 is the one-time implementation.
Okay,
Has to be done.
looks right. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Next one is what, records management and preservation?
Fund 28.
This one is a shared account between myself and the district clerk. I'll speak on the 28,635,569 operating equipment. I'm putting all of my expenses for the Fiddler, EDOC, and Laserfish to total $53,135. Fund 28 at the end of this fiscal year is projected to have about 151. I believe line item 28635,411 under old records preservation includes shred it, and then the district clerk can speak to her request, 39, totaling, Dawn, do you want to jump in?
The budget right now is the request for the shred, which encompasses the entire county, sheriff's office, courthouse,
But because y'all share this fund, y'all talk this over and y'all in agreement in sharing it this way?
I didn't realize she was taking all that other stuff out of there. Because we've only used this for shred it so far. So I thought she had her dedicated fund to do her archives of it.
Well,
I believe I talked to the auditor about it.
We're still looking into this some, we thought this would be the fund that got separated and with the fee structure change, and it has not, so we're a little bit behind on this, so we can come back with a recommendation.
Okay.
If there's any differences.
So, but like I said, my request is for 53,135, so we just have
I
to
got it.
make sure that I can account for that much between a shared fund, like that much is that what kind of? Okay.
Yes.
okay, that's to be determined.
To be determined.
That's a wiggle.
We've been working on it.
Everything's good?
Mhm.
That's a wiggle.
Mhm.
Okay. Then records archive.
Fund 41.
This is the actual book preservation, and then also the requested, I know we talked about requested new hires to be on a different date, but this fund includes that salary, along with, again, the book preservation. The projected fund balance there is somewhere. At the end of this fiscal year, 644,000. And I'm requesting out of this fund 240,377.
That's 204, right? Same as recommendation? Is that what I'm looking at?
240.
240.
Sorry,
Okay. Got it.
Increase of 65,000 over years.
Twenty of it's
About
group
half of that.
insurance.
30 of it is the deputy clerk salary.
FICA
So-
expense.
I'm just looking at it, I'm gonna call out the last three numbers. 108 is the deputy clerk salaries, that goes up by about 30,000?
Correct, that was that requested, new hire.
That's the new hire?
archive specialist, correct.
Okay. And then if we look down to, 411, old records preservation, that's the other one's a big jump.
Yes, that was to do 22 books, which was approved last Monday.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for Ms. Dowdy? Okay, good. I think that wraps you up, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Thank you much.
We'll work out those little wiggles and get it finalized. District clerk.
This is, Fund 10, I worked
Fund 10.
Fund 10 should be ready to get in for the department is 450.
Okay. I've got the clerk, that's 450, and then Fund 10. Ms. Lands.
The administration recommended budget is $713,870, and I came in with $724,45, which is about $10,000 up. And where those differences are going to be in our bonds and insurance. We renewed the bond at the beginning of the year for myself taking office, and as well as the bonds on the clerks that I have in the office. I got with Garrett Insurance, and there's going to be like a $2,200 difference in what I have budgeted. So I went ahead and put that in there. Employee training, I had 10 employees, so I upped that about $800 compared to what the budget recommendation or the administration was. I'll probably be doing budget amendments at the end of the year because I'm trying to get everybody trained, and so there'll be lots of adjustment. I just don't think that's sufficient for 10 people. Postage went up as well. We're going to be getting a big increase there. We send out a lot of court notices for all the courts that we handle. I requested $500 more. That's probably not going to be enough, but we'll see where that gets us. Again, I'll probably be doing budget amendments at the end of this year to cover that because we didn't have enough in there. Office supplies as well. I reached out to the vendors. Our paper, there's going to be a paper shortage supposedly, so our envelopes and all of our paper supplies, which are special certificates that we use for citations and warrants, that paper is going to be increasing as well, so I raised that a little bit. Books, publications, dues, those are going up as well, so I increased that. Probably the biggest increase I had was operating equipment. I'm requesting some laptops from my office. The current laptops we have one that is usable with HD capability. We've had some issues not being able to go in the courtroom with our old laptops, being able to do stuff. So the ones that we have in our office currently need to be replaced. So I'm wanting to purchase those straight for my office to be used with our jury software.
How many does this get you, Dawn?
3, hopefully.
That includes the special software or licensing that or what?
Well, we
Or
just
this
need where we can connect onto the internet with HD, so being able to do stuff, so.
If that's 4 laptops, you think,
How many have 4? Sorry, 4, yes, 4 laptops.
yeah, you think that'll do it?
Yes.
Okay, good, well done.
The only question I have on postage.
Yes.
The comment was that probably not enough. And I'm looking at this year, you're spending projected 13,000 year end. I mean, if we need more, we ought to go ahead and budget more. I mean, we know what Sam's costing. Your hovering right around 10,000 every year, it looks like.
What happens is I get reimbursed from the district judge's office in Region 4. They use our postage meter, but that comes in every so often, and it's not very much either. So I share my postage meter, and I don't know when I did request a reimbursement. I don't know if it's made it back in yet or not. So,
Okay. If you're okay with it.
And just for the record, the projected line is a CAN software, and you can't necessarily rely on it, unfortunately. So,
and also I pay the leasing equipment out of that postage line item as well. I mean, my lease is gonna remain the same because we're in contract, so really that's coming out of there as well.
Okay.
Besides just postage.
Okay.
All right.
Then, jury,
434.
Recommended is 57,600. I requested 58,500. The only thing that I raised up was the juror meals, because here lately with our juries we've had to purchase meals and snacks because they're lasting a long time and 3 or 4 days. So we try to cover that for them when they're serving, as well as for grand jury when they come in and do their grand jury service.
looks good to me. Any comments or questions?
No.
Okay. District Records Management.
133.
I think that should be zeroed. I don't think I'm requesting anything. I'm trying to build that budget up because it was depleted. So there shouldn't be anything in there.
Okay,
and there's not.
very good. Then let's move on to District Records Management.
That's
The Fund 33. Is Town Hall Library.
Fund 18.
18.
I don't think I've left whatever was recommended the same. There's nothing that's changed there.
Looks good.
Okay. Then I think that has all of yours, doesn't it?
I think I have District Clerk Tech Fund,
Oh, yeah.
44.
44.
We've pretty well got our project up and running now. Our administrative recommendation is 10. We don't need that. We need to safely keep about 5 in there for anything that needs to be addressed with Tyler Technology. Right now, we're trying to work on getting our summons emailed, but we're having a little bit of issue with that, I believe, with the server and stuff. The county server won't hold it, so if I'm able to do that, we could save a lot of postage, but right now, that's something that's not feasible, is my understanding with IT director.
Any other questions on that?
No, that's good.
Okay, looks good. Okay, I think that wraps you up.
Thank you.
I'm going to call out of order Constable Precinct 1, who may sit at the back of the room.
Line item 551.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Apologize for not being here earlier. I had my days mixed up.
Oh, we're going to tease you about it, Tommy, you know that.
Okay, pretty much everything's staying the same other than fuel, I guess, for any department that has vehicles. You know, we don't know what the price is going to do, so I just requested an additional $1,000 for fuel. Everything else is pretty much the same.
Okay.
Good.
Thumbs up?
Thank
Thumbs
you.
up.
Thank you.
I'll save my thumb for you.
Okay. We didn't deal with the County Court of Law HB 66.
That's line item 428. Nothing has changed for that line item. We're still getting the same $84,000.
Okay, good. So we'll check that off the list. Okay, Sheriff,
Yes,
County
sir.
Jail.
jail's 512.
All right, Judge, you all ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let me tell you what, we're gonna do the helicopter approach here, and we'll start, what I did is I used a team approach concept on our budget. I used my admin. We kind of locked ourselves in the conference room for several days, so I just didn't pull this number out of the air. We worked real hard, which you have to realize, we looked at what prices were last year, right now, and then trying to look forward. I think it's pretty easy to explain all of the budgets, and we'll start with the jail. The judge's recommended budget was $5,193,267. My budget I submitted was $5,305,687, a difference of $112,420. There's 4 items that pretty much ate that up that I feel I have no control over, none of those items. One was fuel. Y'all have to understand, I have fuel in 4 different parts of my budget. 2 in the jail, 1 is for prisoner transport, which we're up and running, and 1's for jail vehicles to transport locally. What I want to let the court know and the public know is that I don't think the last 2 years of numbers were very accurate, okay, because we're up and going now. As far as I'm concerned, COVID's done, jails are open, TDC's open, and our deputies in the orange section are going every day. So one of those fuel, 40,000, right there I increased. That's in 2 departments. One to transport, 35,000, 5,000 in the jail, 4,500 bucks in the jail for local transport, what we call. Our medical contract, which is out of my control, goes up for anywhere from 3 to 5%. Went up 3.5%. It's $34,000 increase. Utilities, we're looking at about a $30,000 increase in that. That's for the whole complex, the sheriff's office annex. And then food, jail food, we all buy food, $8,000. I think that's pretty cheap, actually. We're probably going to come in right at budget, but we've had to make a lot of changes. The way we buy and what we buy have changed. So those 4 items right there are $112,000 of the $112,420, the difference between the judge's budget and mine.
Looks good. Actually, I was surprised, I saw the meals the other.
We're not done.
No.
No, it is, yeah, meals,
Desserts on it.
example so the public knows, we used to buy sliced meat, now we cut it ourselves, which is a big saving. Problem is, I don't care what it costs, we're getting to where like turkey, I'll give you an example, we can't get it here pretty quick. So I said, go to bologna, you're not gonna believe bologna costs more than turkey. Those are just some of the things we deal with, but my understanding on these turkey farms, there's a huge shortage and we use a lot of turkey, a lot. So we're gonna have to kind of look at that, which I'm sure will go up a little bit. But like I said, just want the public to know in the court, we're putting down a budget that's going to be next year. As we know, we'll get to fuel on the sheriff's office budget. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
That's good.
Looks good.
I'm surprised it wasn't higher, to be honest.
Thumbs up.
Me too. Thanks, Judge.
Okay. Well,
Appreciate that.
we're staying within the guidelines here.
Yes, sir.
And these guidelines, these recommendations that I made, that's the no new taxes. As long as we're staying within that, I'm a happy guy.
Thank you.
Okay. Sheriff's Department.
Line item 560.
All right. This one's really simple to explain. The judge's recommended budget $6,939,905. The budget I submitted $7,116,646. A difference of $176,741. One thing, fuel. And I'll explain to you how we did that. Like I said, same concept. We got in the building, we cut up some numbers. We burn about 56,000, we drive about 56,000 miles a year. We did 450. This morning it was 469. That's what I put. That's $155,626 increase right there. What I want the public to know and you to know on these units, we're up and running. Like I said, the courts are open, TDC's open, but these Tahoes, once they're started, our patrol works a 12-hour shift. Once those things start, they run, okay? Unless they get to the sheriff's department, because of the electronic equipment in there, the recording devices, the cameras and all that stuff, that they run, So they run an accident scene or something, they run all the time. It's not like you can turn them off, not because they'd be dead. You know, that's one thing, along with just the driving, the courts opening up patrol. I can tell you right now, since the Uvalde incident, I've shared with all of my commissioners and the judge, I'm in my phone, my email, my text has not stopped. In light of, I guess 2 weeks ago, we had another threat against KISD, had a threat against Walmart. I mean, all the schools, the courts, the public, the media, everybody wants more presence. You know, so it ain't gonna back up, it's only gonna get busier this next year. But with that being said, Judge, that's pretty much, and then my maintenance contracts, which go up an average of 3 to 5%, pretty much eats up that 176,741.
I didn't ask, you saw that notice from MHDD on Telepsych.
Yes, sir.
Is that in the jail budget or is that in the Sheriff's Department budget?
That's in the jail.
Okay. And that's provided for, I just want to make sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we do.
And for those in the public that don't know, Hill Country MHDD provided Telepsych for the jail. They discontinued it this year. So that just falls back to us.
Yes. But that's pretty much the sheriff's office in a nutshell. Is, like I said, two things. Fuel primarily, which I feel is out of my control. And like I said, we did it at 450. Cross our fingers. Hope it goes way down.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for the sheriff on the sheriff's department? Good. Thumbs up.
Thank you.
Sheriff's Annex.
564.
Judge, pretty much here, everything is at or below. Let me get to that real quick. The rest of my items.
6.4. Nothing in it.
Yeah, that would, their judge raised it by $1,000 just to do to, we use 5%. I know it's above that and 8%, but on our items, we use 5% increase on pretty much everything we have. So we're adding $1,000.
Well, that's pretty much the
I
same.
think that's fair.
Okay. I'm good with that one too.
Yes, sir.
SO donation fund.
172.
That's just our donation fund there, Judge. We just left it like it is.
And that's the fund that we're using to do the matching grant for the Bearcat.
No, sir. The matching grant with the Bearcat is going to be done by the foundation.
Okay.
We're talking about the $150,000. That'll be matched hopefully by our foundation. That's
Okay.
not in here.
Okay. Good clarification.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next is the SEAAP grant.
Scout grant, 73. Yeah, we just kept that the same.
That's the same?
Yes, sir. Both years were mine.
Okay, that's good. SO law enforcement.
182.
Judge, there you submitted 31,000, we have 50,000 in there. Tanya, I might need you help me. We just spread out our seizure funds on that, which we're not really asking anything to start funds. We're separating in there, our seizure funds in case we need them.
Okay. Then the next one is what? SO law enforcement? That was that one. Courthouse security.
129.
Where's the 129?
Should be on the right side.
Okay.
Judge, your recommended budget on that was, let's see, $299,000, 908. Mine was $305,283, and that was just purely because of contract increases. The difference.
Maintenance contract.
Yes. And that was it.
Okay, very good. Unclaimed capital credits.
149.
That's ours.
Yeah, that's gonna say that one. You got me on that one.
That's good, Sheriff.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
This one is, we just submit a report to the state comptroller's office, which we just did, and they send us the credits that are turned over to the state because nobody is claiming them. The electrical company, I believe, credits is where it's from, and there's no change in the 25,000. We use this to pay for our economic development dues.
Any questions, comments? It's just business as usual. Okay. So that concludes our workshop for this morning. These are about, what, half of our, we've got another half, what, next week?
On the 29th, I believe, is the next one, yes.
Okay. So with that, then we will stand adjourned.